Welcome to CSE 215, and today we are going to start objects and classes. So basically object-oriented programming. So in the last few lectures we have covered the basics of Java. For example, how to write a selection structure, how to write a repetition structure or loop, how to build an array, how to use an array, how to use methods, and so on. So with all these things, we have already in our previous courses, like in C, we have built projects using just these tools. So let's look at a similar project where the problem is banking system. So in the banking system, we need to build an application or a program that will keep track of all banking information such as user account information, transaction details, balance, customer listing, etc. So in our previous course, we solved this problem using C. So before jumping into writing the actual application using a specific language, we need to have some designing step. So the first designing step is to come up with a functional diagram of the problem. So when we build the application, we first have the main menu, and from the main menu there are several options. For example, add an account, update info of an account, actual transaction, check information, remove an account, view list of customers, and exit the program. Also, when we go into these separate choices, we have further tasks. For example, for transaction, we have to first enter the account number. Then we will have two other choices, deposit or withdraw. So this is the functional diagram of our problem. Next, with this functional diagram, we need to decide which function is used by which kind of user. And this is known as use case diagram. A use case diagram looks like this, where inside this rectangular box we have all the functionalities, and outside the box is the user of this program. So we have this view customer info, which should be accessed by both the customers, also the accountants from the bank. The view balance functionality can be accessed by the customer himself or herself and also by the accountants. However, the create new account functionality can be accessed by only the accountant. Also, the transfer money, this functionality can be accessed by only the customer. And for the system, we have another user which is called system admin, who can add these accountants or remove an accountant. So when we have this design done, we can then go to our code. So this code was particularly developed by one of my students in a previous semester for the course CSE 115. So it was written in C. So in C, what we have is all the project functionalities are written inside one single file, which is called bankingsystem.c. So here first we include everything, every library that we may need, and then we have the main method at the end here. So this is our main method. So in the main method, it basically takes the login information and checks whether that login information is correct or not. And before the main method, we have all sorts of other functionalities. For example, this is a menu function which gives the choices, and based on the choice given by the user, it actually calls the other functions. Like for the choice 1, it calls the new account function, then choice 2, the edit function, then transact function, C, that means view function, erase, view list, close, and then again the menu function. So we have implementation of all these functions before. For example, this is the view list function. Then this is the erase function. This is the C, or the view function. This is the transact function. So in the transact function, we can see that we take the input, the account number as the input, and we can then give the user a choice whether he or she wants to deposit or withdraw, and enter your choice. So if choice equal 1, it does something, and then if the choice is equal 2, it does something else. And then we have the edit function, we have the new account function, and we have the interest function which calculates the interest, and so on. So this is a function written in C, which is the actual program. So in C, what we have done is everything that we perform is designed as functions. And from one function, we call another function. From that function, we call some other function. Everything is done by some function calling. So let's go back to our class. So this is not how we have our regular day-to-day life. If we have the same thing in a real life scenario, this is our bank and we are a customer. We go to the bank either to deposit money or to withdraw money. In the bank, we have an accountant who actually updates, or who actually look over our account information, and so on. So this is a real life scenario where it's not only functions and procedures, rather these are separate entities somehow connected with each other by some activities. So in our real life, we don't have all procedures. Rather, in the real life, in our world, we have several objects or things, and everything or every object has its own functionality, every object has its own behavior, but they are somehow related to each other. And when they are related to each other, together they build a system in our real world. For example, here a customer, the bank, the accountant, the money, the account information, these objects together build our banking system. What we have done so far is we have seen we have seen the basic Java functions or features using arrays, if-else, switch case, loops. But these features are not sufficient for the banking system software that we have just seen, or softwares that have graphical user interfaces like this. So a graphical user interface where the user interacts with the program using graphics like this. So here we have two buttons, we have some text, we have a text box, we have some radio buttons, we have some other options, we have a drop down menu. So if we were to write the codes for the buttons separately, so for two buttons we had to write the codes twice, but the codes are almost similar except maybe the size here and the text here, but the functionality and everything else is the same for the buttons. Similarly, for these radio buttons, the codes are similar, but we have to write the codes multiple times, the same code. So in the programming language or in the programming world, the programmers try to minimize the manual task by introducing automation. So we have seen some sort of automation or code reusability by introducing methods. We will now see today's lecture that we can build similar type of things as object, and then we will design our program in a different way where the objects interact with each other to build the entire system. So let's now jump into the other object-oriented programming concepts.